Hello and welcome to Region Locked. Today's episode is a little different. Unlike our usual focus on Japanese and European exclusive titles, in this video we'll be looking at a game released exclusively in North America. Let's take a look at the somewhat lesser known game called Monster Tale. Monster Tale was released in 2011, developed by Dream Rift and published by Majesco for the Nintendo DS. Being published exclusively to American audiences, the game is a somewhat typical Metroidvania, but with several virtual pet mechanics. Monster Tale was the debut title of the newly founded Dream Rift team, made up of staff who had worked on several popular titles before. For example, just prior to Monster Tale, EA's Henry Hatsworth in the puzzling adventure. Hatsworth's lead designer, Peter Ong, would be the designer for Monster Tale, leading to several similarities between these titles. The game's story follows a young girl named Ellie, who awakes to a loud sound. She leaves her home and heads towards a nearby forest where she discovers a bracelet which begins to glow. After a bright flash, she finds herself in another world, the Monster World. Here she finds a statue which grants her the ability to fire projectiles from her bracelet. She soon discovers a bizarre egg emblazoned with a swirl. The egg hatches a creature unlike any found on Earth who decides to follow Ellie. She gives it the name Chomp. The world that she finds herself in is going through a tumultuous time, shackled in tyranny. A story in this world, The Monster Tale, claims that a great hero will appear who will rise up and free the land, coming from humble origins, and despite being a stranger to this monster world, the hero will fight fiercely for the monsters. While exploring the world, Ellie comes into contact with other humans who call themselves the Kid Kings. These children have somehow entered the monster world and enslaved the creatures to do their bidding, abusing the ancient tale and standing in the place of the hero who would ultimately come to stop them. These children are Mead, a strong informant of the Kid Kings who rules over the kingdom of Meadland. Back in the human world, he was a normal child, but in the monster world, he can live like a king. Dianu, a somewhat lazy child who loves water, ruling over Dianuford. In the human world, he was always ordered around, but in his new home, he can do as he pleases. Zoe, a child much younger than Ellie, who rules over Zoetopia. Zoe is rather selfish and bratty, and back home she was never allowed to have toys as she would always break them. Ethan, ruler of Ethanica, was previously treated as a joke and never taken seriously back home, as all he ever wanted to do was invent and conduct research. And finally, Priscilla, the ruler of all of the Kid Kings, is believed to be the first human ever to come into contact with the monster world. With a holier-than-thou attitude, she often orders others around to do her bidding rather than get her own hands dirty. Monster Tale combines several genres naturally through both standard controls as well as the DS touchscreen. As a Metroidvania, much of the game revolves around exploring a large 2D world with many routes to choose from, and several paths to unlock as the player progresses. The player has direct control over Ellie, who is initially capable of jumping, firing projectiles from her bracelet similar to Mega Man, and not far into the game she becomes capable of performing melee attacks with her tote bag. Her band has a power bar which can be refilled with collectibles, as well as by hitting enemies with a melee attack. As with most games of this genre, Ellie's range of abilities expands with improved attack power and mobility as the player progresses. Assisting Ellie is Chomp. Unlike Ellie, Chomp gains experience and develops when fighting monsters. His abilities are mostly improved through leveling up. While gameplay for Ellie takes place on the DS's top screen, Chomp is able to switch between both screens. The bottom screen is his pet sanctuary, where Ellie is able to provide him with items like toys, books, or food, with each providing the monster with experience points. Items are often obtained by defeating monsters, but to top it off, monsters can be juggled after being defeated. By hitting a dead enemy with melee attacks, additional items can be dropped. Other items can also assist Ellie on the top screen, such as offensive items for backup or health restoratives. Other complications can come into play, such as enemies or puzzles requiring the use of both screens. Chomp will have to deal with these issues on the bottom screen as the player controls Ellie. Chomp can be called from his resting spot in the pet sanctuary at any time, though if his stamina is depleted, he is forced to return. Whilst following Ellie, Chomp will automatically target and attack enemies, or can be instructed by the player to perform special abilities. In total, Chomp can learn 31 different skills ranging from attacks, defensive maneuvers, healing, or even supplying the player with an additional air jump. Each of these skills use a portion of Chomp's stamina. Chomp is able to learn a variety of traits, which can be equipped as a means of increasing Chomp's stats in a variety of ways. These abilities can be learned with each of Chomp's evolutionary forms, which are unlocked based on items he is supplied with and how he has been used to fight. Each new form has its own unique skills and stats and can be swapped out at any time. As Chomp masters these abilities, he's capable of using them at all times, regardless of which form he is in. These forms also have their own element: fire, water, earth, light, or dark. Forms are broken up into 3 different categories: child, teenager, and adult, each with 10 different forms. Helping Ellie on her journey is Jinx, a monster who provides information on the monster world while also selling upgrades for Ellie and items for Chomp. Ong co-founded Dream Rift with Ryan Pijay, with Monster Tale being their first game. Work had begun on Monster Tale in late 2009 under the working title of Project Monster. When considering what the title would be, the team decided they wanted to make something which would be innovative, but play to their strengths. With this in mind, the team wanted to use both screens of the DS in a unique manner, feeling that the dual screen feature of the system was largely neglected by developers. In an interview with Nintendo Life, Ong stated,
"Usually you'll see a second screen on the DS used in a trivial manner, such as an inventory screen or an extended view of the world. We wanted to explore what it's like when 2 radically different genres exist on each screen, while attempting to integrate gameplay between screens together in a way we hadn't seen before. The rest of the game just evolved logically out of those initial premises."
Ong was inspired in part by the first Monster Rancher release for the PlayStation, more specifically, the emotional attachment towards a player's pet, as well as the variety involved with elements such as items and activities that can be conducted with the monsters. They wanted to expand upon the functionality of activities with the player's pet, having them affect the game in real time. Interestingly, at the time of release, the game's press kit containing both information and artwork included multiple Photoshop files that not only contained the characters' portraits, but also retained the document's layers. These layers included the artwork that several characters were based on, mostly consisting of portraits from the Japanese exclusive game Namco x Capcom, but also some from Ace Attorney. While we can't get a hold of this press kit, several poses are easy to line up. When speaking with Nintendo Power, the developers also revealed that they had pressure from several publishers over the team's choice of protagonist. Peter Ong said,
"This choice was actually somewhat controversial with some publishers. Our experience is that many publishers are looking to avert the risk of a main character that hasn't been proven to capture large audiences. As a result, there was some concern from publishers that Ellie should change to a male or a more mature/sexy female."
Ong also made statements in 2013 regarding piracy on the DS and the potential of it for the 3DS. Ong claimed that many publishers had cited the issue of piracy on the system during discussions, and that it was even given as a specific reason for why they backed away from Monster Tale.
The publishers fear that, in a climate where piracy is commonplace, original games and new mechanics are far less likely to be successful than games based on previously successful mechanics, established licenses, sequels, and sports.
The game actually features some voice acting, starring the voice of Brina Palencia as Ellie, best known for her voice work as Chopper from One Piece or Mad Moxie from the Borderlands series, as well as Todd Haberkorn, Leah Clark, Monica Rial, Cynthia Kranz, and Tia Ballard. While Monster Tale did well in winning over critics and the audience who had the chance to play the title, it never achieved massive recognition or high sales. With the game's release coming in 2011, very late into the DS lifecycle, its potential audience was mostly moving on from the portable, with much of the DS audience at this time being more casual. The game's release exclusively in the US also limited its scope for an audience. It was announced by Dream Rift in 2015 that Monster Tale would be seeing an updated re-release for the Nintendo 3DS called Monster Tale Ultimate, boasting orchestrated music, redesigned quests, rebalanced gameplay, and an expanded adventure. However, with no other news coming to light since this initial announcement, and Dream Rift having published no other games since this time, it is unknown whether this game will ever see a release. After Monster Tale, Dream Rift only published one more title, the widely praised Disney-licensed Epic Mickey Power of Illusion in 2012, 1 year after Monster Tale. When speaking on piracy with Gamer Sutra, Ong may have revealed where the studio ultimately began to fade into obscurity after their double-barreled release of strong titles.
Whether or not you should take note of piracy on a Nintendo 3DS as a serious issue depends on who you are. If you wish upon yourself, and all other 3DS gamers, a market flooded with uninspired licensed sequel sports games over original ideas and mechanics, then by all means there's nothing to worry about. There are so many things that are unique about the 3DS. It's a handheld gaming machine that's dedicated to playing games first and foremost, and offers a home for passionate world-class studios that aren't so small as a garage operation, but aren't 100+ person juggernauts. As for myself, I'm definitely taking notice, because the day that I have no option but to make a sports game is the day that I must look for a new profession. If piracy becomes prevalent on the 3DS, it will affect Dream Rift's efforts on 3DS detrimentally.
And now, with the scores all tied up, the Monster Patreon Grand Tournament's final battle. For Team Clefairy, it's Chad Barnin. For Team Jacksaw, it's your boy Beowulf. The final battle is between these two team captains. Yeah. And now, without further ado, begin! Fight! The match starts with a Malcavio. And Corey Nelson counters with a tongue slap. Vitas Varnas would love this battle, oh my! Guillermo Chavez would be proud of how this boy is performing. Do it! Wait a minute, what's this? A classic Robert Cox spinning attack with little time left in the game. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, now! An Arkady Skywalker? No, it's a Gary CXJK. KO. Yeah! After knocking out Trevor Whittington and Hector Amarillo, the winner's special prize is an awesome jacket, dude. It's not even on the market.
Awesome.
Thanks to the Three Master Gamers for sponsoring this epic battle.
Yeah, Monster Battle rules. That's right. Read my name, you dirty girl. That's right. Read my name, you dirty girl.
Thanks to Shesez for lending his voice for the quotes for this video. That was very kind of you.
Like detrimentally.
Thank you, of course, to our patrons. You guys are wonderful. Keep up the good work. And thanks to you for watching. We really hope you enjoyed the video. What's this? It's a bag of Twiglets. Americans don't have Twiglets. You're missing out. It's good. I honestly f***ing love Twiglets. It's outrageous. It's like Marmite on a stick.